Hi there.
Good evening.
Do you like my avatar?
Indeed.
This is how I used to look.
Before what?
Before, I changed it to the Persona 5 avatar.
Akira? Whoa, what the heck? We're being invaded.
Oh, you see the spaceship. You're a little bit behind me. Do you want to see something cool?
Yeah. Always.
Come on. Click this.
Oh.
Yeah. Then you can also turn on the mirror if you want, if it's not going to crash your computer. It's right over here.
Actually, okay. Ooh.
This avatar is so basic and so old that no one even bothers stealing it anymore. And it is honestly pretty original because of it. This is how I looked for a long time.
Oh, it's nice that you still have him.
Yeah. Agreed.
Oh, my voice. It's so husky. I just woke up.
It's okay. My voice is always a little bit
This
lower
is crazy.
when I wake up too.
Boop. Oh, there's a tree here.
Yeah.
Rachel and Nick.
Mm-hmm. Nick is the name of the person who designed this world. You guess who Rachel is?
Definitely his mum.
Of course.
Oh, it's still there. Whoa, what happened? Oh, nothing. Look at this spaceship.
Okay.
Take me with you.
Right?
That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I think so.
Cool.
Do you want to see the best seat in the house?
Yeah.
Okay. Do you still have it on night or day? I'll match you.
I put it back on day.
Okay. I'll turn it to day then. You sure you don't want to put it on night?
Boop.
Alright.
It's on night.
Oh, okay. Alright. I'll switch it back. Which do you prefer?
I like night.
Okay. Let me show you the best seat in the house. Come on.
Oh, hell yeah.
It's up here.
How did I lose you in 1 second? Oh.
It's up here.
What the hell?
There you go.
Oh. No, it's not. I didn't even see this during the day. What are we standing on?
It's a big rock. Is it too dark for you? I forget
Like
that you're
big ol'
in
rock.
2D.
Does that affect lighting?
It kind of does, yeah. My eyes are like a millimeter from the screen, and everything is zoomed in and really
Oh
big.
yeah, true.
Yeah. It looks like I'm here. Everywhere I look around me, I'm in this world.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah.
I hope I get a VR someday.
You will.
Ooh. Cannonball! Oh, dude, there's treasure in here.
There is.
There's treasure. Oh man, I was like, is there a campfire in the water?
What do you think of this world?
I love it.
Yeah, it's pretty cool.
Really cool.
All right. I brought you here to a secluded private world full of ambiance and full of ambiance
Chloroform.
and chloroform. No, I'm just kidding.
No, don't you dare.
Yeah.
I'm afraid of this.
You said full of chloroform. So, but full of ambiance and appropriate mood-setting music. Do you hear it?
Yeah, I'm turning it back off now. It was pretty low.
I keep mine on, but all right, young person. I'm gonna figure this out. It might be a point of pride in myself. It might be natural inquisition, the nature to inquire. I consider myself a
Yes.
philosopher. I told you that. And maybe I
Yes.
pride myself a little too much on my ability to communicate. I was always the kid that won 20 questions. Nothing could stump me. And
Huh.
so in communicating with you at first, I thought we were on a certain path, right? And it seemed like I have had periods in my life when I had a very fantastical imagination that created very complex things. And I sort of knew that it was fake, but I sort of didn't. And the more I let myself go down that road, the more I believed it. There are some things that, due to my fractured, we'll say like fractured perspective, there are some things that will never go away. I changed the way I thought on a fundamental level. I'm sorry that I did that, but it can't be undone now. But I am interested
Well,
in
that's
you.
fine. I can't change the way you think.
That's true. And maybe I can't change the way you think either, but I would like to understand it more, if I can.
Me at therapy be like, just kidding, they all left me.
I'm interested, but first things first. Can you see my hand?
Yes.
Are you playing with nameplates on?
Yes.
Okay. Just while you're with me, because you don't need to see anybody else's name but mine. Do you want to turn them off?
I'll turn it off.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yes. Come with me.
Hang on.
Come with me. Come with me.
Wait, where the heck do I do that? Oh, wait,
You open up your menu, and I think in pancake mode, you go to settings first, and then UI elements.
Wait, what do you mean pancake mode? What's a where?
A pancake is flat. You're in pancake mode.
Where is it?
Oh, it's in settings, I think.
Oh, rip.
You go to settings and then UI elements.
Where is that?
It may not be in settings. When I open up my menu, there's a little floating, tiny little menu. And it's got emojis and emotes. And so I go to UI elements in the bottom left.
I feel like I've seen that before, but I just have no idea where it is.
You don't know where the tiny floating menu is?
Definitely not.
Because there's a small menu that opens, right? Before the big menu opens? Is that how it works for you too?
Yeah.
Okay. In the small menu, it says there are maybe 16, 17 options. 12, 13 options. 14, 15, 16. Okay. Maybe 17. All right. So it says worlds, avatar, social, safety, go home, respawn, standing, seated, which you may not have. Settings, UI elements, camera, emote, and emoji.
Oh, yeah. Okay, yeah.
UI elements.
Okay. Yeah, there it is.
There you go.
Yeah, I knew I'd seen it before. Okay. Oh, there it is on.
All right. Now you can see just me, right?
Yeah.
Good. Okay. And you can see my hands?
Yes.
All right. I felt like it would be better to talk to you about it here. We're by ourselves. There's no record of it. So there's no text record of it. Who's home with you?
This is what my psychologist has said. No one.
Okay. So, and I'm not outside your window or anything. Or am I? No. I'm not. But, all right.
was
See,
already looking
I
outside my
can do.
window before you said that.
I'm not there. I promise. I'm in VR, and I'm nowhere near you. I'm in the United States, so I can do things that your therapist can't do. Kind of. I'm gonna put my hand here, right on your stomach. Do you have ovaries?
Go find him.
Go find them. Well, a biological female has an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. And you say, I don't know the difference or I can't tell. But there would be certain markers that you did have an X and a Y. Or I'm sorry, a male has an X and a Y. A female has two X's. A female would have a vagina. Do you have a vagina?
I cannot see, so I wouldn't know.
You can't
She
see?
probably does.
Not this character.
No,
I mean,
these characters' tits are in the way.
well, exactly. Do you have these? Do you have breasts?
No.
No, you don't? Do you have ovaries? You would know because you would have a
I've never
menstrual
seen 'em.
cycle. Do you have a menstrual cycle? Do you
Could do.
bleed? Yeah? You bleed once in a while? From your vagina?
Do I bleed once in a while?
Yeah.
In general.
Okay. But do you bleed, I would say, on a semi-regular basis from your vagina?
Who knows?
You do. That's why I'm asking. If I knew, then I wouldn't be asking. Do you have a penis?
Yeah. Who knows?
You do.
Do I?
Yeah. I mean, you do know whether or not you have a penis. Because unlike a vagina, a penis cannot be constructed artificially. It's a form of an organ, and it's not the absence of something, it is something itself. And it's impossible to recreate a functioning penis. I have a functioning penis. I have an X chromosome and a Y chromosome. And that prohibits me from
millions of people.
well, billions. I mean, a little over half the population's female, so and I guess if having a penis is a flex, then I'm flexing. It's not though, but
Oof,
if it
rip.
was, I know, right? But it's not a flex. But so I know I have experienced an erection. I know what it's like to pee standing up and not get it all over my legs. I don't have ovaries. I'm prohibited from having children or from my bone density is greater. My lifespan is shorter. Does that make sense?
Is that how that works?
It is how that works, yeah. Biologically, that's how it works. Do you have a penis?
Well, I
a
had
functioning
no idea
penis?
about that bone density thing.
Yeah. Do you have a functioning penis? Hold up your hand right now in real life. In a male hand, so you can tell this is a female avatar. In a male hand, the index finger is generally shorter than the ring finger. And on a female hand, the index finger is just as long. Sometimes it's even longer. And if there is a slight difference, the index finger is almost the same size, or it's less pronounced in a female. My index finger is much shorter than my ring finger. My bone density is greater. The left side of my brain has greater density. And females, their brains are used more symmetrically. The left and right side are equally as dense. It gives you strengths and weaknesses. The great strengths are that you learn languages faster if you're female. You are less likely to lose your ability to speak or communicate after a stroke. You live slightly longer. You make better detectives. You can notice smaller details over a shorter period of time and recall them with greater ease. Males have a denser left side of their brain. I'm male. I have a denser left side. Makes me better at spatial reasoning, situational, like positional awareness. I always know where north is. Even in VR, I always know where north is. Makes me better at things like math. On average, males are better at math, science, things like that require more logical ability. The parts of our brains that handle physical and emotional feeling are smaller. I don't feel pain as vividly as a female would. Sometimes I can cut myself and go days without realizing it. It's not a good thing. It's true, though. It makes me more aggressive. I have a greater amount of testosterone in my body. It makes me more aggressive. I'm more likely, when tested, on average, to take multiple steps at one time when climbing the stairs than a female would be. I know that seems like a strange thing because you've probably taken multiple stairs either way, whether you're male or female, but males are more likely to do it more often. And the most important part is I have a functioning penis and no ovaries. I could never have a child, regardless of my physical abnormalities. I could never have a child, but I do have a functioning penis. It becomes erect sometimes, hard. The cartilage becomes hard, filled with blood, gets engorged. Whereas if I was female, I would not know that sensation, but the labia majora and minora would become engorged with blood when I was aroused. But I would not know what it's like to have an erection. I'd probably have to pee sitting down in order to be able to aim it carefully. There are differences in my body and a female's body. Noticeable differences that you can tell even down to the skeletal structure. If that's all that was left of me was a skeleton, any doctor worth his salt with any experience at all could immediately tell whether or not I was male or female just by looking at my skeleton. If a doctor looked at your skeleton, it's true. There are great differences between males and females. They're not slight. They're great. And there are many. There are so many that even our muscular cells shed differently. What I can do in about a week and 3 days, a female would take her 2 months to be able to build in terms of muscle and muscular endurance. A week and 3 days. I've seen females in the Army. I was in the military. The minimum amount of push-ups I had to do to stay in the Army was 63 in 2 minutes. That's a push-up a little over a push-up every 2 seconds. A little under a push-up a push-up in slightly less than 2 seconds. Every 2 seconds. Whereas a female only has to do 14 to stay in the Army. In 2 minutes, she gets 2 minutes to do 14 correct push-ups. And some females can barely do that because they have about 25 to 35% less muscle mass in their upper body and about 15 to 20% less in their lower body. The core muscles are very similar, within 5 or 10%. Females, it's easier for them to lose belly fat than it is a male. That's why they say a beer belly or a dad bod is a thing. Because after a baby, it's easier for a female to lose belly fat. Do you have a working penis? Do you know what it's like to have an erection? If I were to take a guess.
No.
Okay. If I were to take a guess, I would say no. Because of the way that your vocal cords oscillate, the way you sound, the way the types of words that you choose to use.
What the hell does oscillate mean?
It means back and forth. You can tell when a male's pretending to be female and when a female is pretending to be ambiguous. I think you might have some physical abnormalities that you don't like about yourself, like your nose and your chin you mentioned to me. Maybe there's something wrong with your reproductive system, but I doubt it. And maybe you either think you are or you actually are in some ways homosexual or gay. And that has caused a lot of confusion. I just wanted to tell you that even if for no other reason than we are both made in God's image, I love you. And I care about you. From the moment that we started talking in the cave or wherever it is we started talking in the pug, I do love you. And I care what happens to you. And maybe that's just because I'm a Christian and I'm a weirdo and I attach quickly to things and people. But I do care what happens to you.
I'm also a Christian.
Well, I'm glad that you're talking to me. And I'm just trying to understand exactly what it is that I'm dealing with not so that I can help. I'm not here to fix you, but I do want to understand you better. And maybe in a way it will help me understand myself better as I understand you better. And it will help me in the future communicate with others. I talk to a lot of people. I'm also a counselor in an addiction recovery program. I just started it. I'm kind of like a helper, but I'm working my way up. But it will help me communicate with people in the future and for all time as long as I'm alive, for the rest of my life. And so I just want to understand, have you ever had a working penis? It doesn't sound like you have. I think you would have told me by now if you did. It's okay.
I probably would have.
Yeah, you probably would have. Do you still menstruate? It's okay. You can tell me.
Dunno.
You don't know if you still menstruate? If you don't still menstruate, it's not a bad thing. And if you do still menstruate, it's not a bad thing either. I was in the medical field as well. I should have probably prefaced with that. I was a combat medic in the Army. That's what I did. Done lots of things medically. I've seen lots of bodies, naked and clothed. And so you're not going to like bother me really. And I think it's cool that you have scoliosis. That's awesome. It is. It makes you
No,
unique.
it isn't.
Well, it probably doesn't feel awesome
No,
all the
that's
time.
not unique.
Well, I don't have it. I don't meet very many people that do. It's not like 1 in 5 have it.
Well, congratulations, you're not deformed.
Yes, I am. I have pectic excavatum. Did you Google it?
Yeah, I know what that is.
Oh, okay. It's where your chest bone goes in. 1 in 3 boys are born like that, so it's common, but they almost all of them grow out of it. I didn't. It's not
I've met a
very.
few people with it, actually.
Yeah, it's not very severe. Mine isn't, but it could have been. And I was always embarrassed to take my shirt off when I was a little kid. Now, I don't care. If people don't like it, that's too bad. But I have a greater amount of emotional and intellectual maturity. And that's not a bad thing either. You can only have what you have at your age. I have grown, and it wasn't through necessarily pain, although that's part of it, but my brain physically has matured. And I don't feel embarrassed over certain things anymore. I just cannot feel embarrassed over certain things. You look at your parents, you're like, why are they so weird? But it's because their brains have matured to the point that when you're young, your brain is more like a sponge. They don't just say that just because it's fun to say, because kids seem like they're smart. It's true. They can absorb a great amount of information from every angle. That's why they try to cram as much of it into you in school as they possibly can. Because as you get older, your brain, and this is a natural thing, and it's part of our biology, your brain begins to shut off things that it doesn't use and hone and focus its expert abilities into just a few areas that it thinks or that it prioritizes. So my brain has been prioritized to logical problem solving. I'm good with IT stuff. I like to build and solve puzzles. Your brain may have prioritized a different way. But everybody's brain prioritizes. It cuts off certain things and it prioritizes just a few. You're not jack of all trades anymore. You become master of a few things. And your brain masters 1 or 2 areas or 3 or 4 areas that it can really, really focus on. So I have probably a little bit more emotional and intellectual maturity. My brain has mastered certain things. I don't cry over movies or get scared over I'm not afraid of the dark anymore. I used to be when I was a kid. But I just couldn't be, even if I wanted to be. And so
Interesting.
yeah, and this is true. These are all fundamental truths about the human body. They don't change based on perspective. They're empirical truths. So you never had a working penis. You have experienced menstruation, I'm assuming. And do you still have your ovaries? If you didn't have your ovaries, you would know because you wouldn't be able to menstruate. Because there would be no eggs that would need to drop. You would lose your menstrual cycle. You might get a little tiny little hairy mustache right here. That's okay too. And your voice would drop an octave. What's that? Your voice would drop a little bit. The amount of testosterone in your body would raise slightly. The amount of estrogen would fall slightly. You might lose your breasts. Those?
Well, I can't lose them.
They're not there?
I don't have any. No.
Any means none at all. Do you have mammary glands? Means
I have no idea what that is.
Your nipples have tiny holes in them. And if you were ever to become pregnant, the mammary glands behind the nipples and like up a little bit, that they're really contained inside the breast, would produce milk for the baby. Do you have those mammary glands?
No.
You don't know? Can you become pregnant?
No.
You can't? You're sure?
Yes.
How do you know? How are you sure?
What do you mean, how do I know?
Like, I know that I can't become pregnant because I don't have ovaries. I was born a man. I'll never know what it's like to be pregnant. How do you know that you could never be pregnant if you've never had a working penis?
Because I can't.
Will you tell me why?
I don't know how to explain to you why. I just can't.
Is it a biological problem that causes it? Is it physiological?
I don't know. I've got no idea.
You have no idea why you can't become pregnant, but you know that you can't be.
Yeah, you definitely can't.
Definitely can't. But you don't know why.
No, physio. I don't know. Never mind.
Did you ever have a medical condition that prevented it?
No.
No? Are you sure you've never had a working penis?
Yeah.
Okay. And we're still on the same page. You have a... Do you have... Okay, so I did